Thursday Theology, Greek to me. I'm Pastor Bryan Hopfensperger. The reading for today is Hebrews 11, 1 through 29. In verse 28, we read this. By faith, he, that is Moses, kept the Passover and sprinkled the blood, so that the destroyer of the firstborn might not touch them. So the word that we're going to look at just a little bit deeper is the word touch. And if you happen to know Greek, I'm going to put it there on the screen. It's thigano, or thige is the actual word in our text. Now, what's interesting is that the word that's used here in Hebrews 11, verse 28, that's not the usual word for touch in the New Testament. So the word here, it wouldn't be touching something with your finger, your hand. The word that's used here is the word for something coming up close to and butting up against to it. So touching or adjoining. And what's interesting is that, the word for touch would not be uncommon, but the word here for touch shows up one time in the Greek translation of the Old Testament. Now that's significant. And it's found in Exodus 19 when God instructs Moses to put around Mount Sinai a barrier so that no one could come up against it and touch it. It wasn't that they would touch the mountain, but that no one could come up to it, so it would be a barrier to them. Now, that's pretty helpful for us when we read that same word that's used only one time in the Old Testament. When we read that same word here in Hebrews 11, verse 28, it says, by faith, Moses kept the Passover, he sprinkled the blood, so that the destroyer of the firstborn might not touch them. So whoever wrote the book of Hebrews, we're not exactly sure. Scholars are divided. I have a hunch it was Paul. But whoever it was, when he's explaining how Moses sprinkled the blood of the lambs so that the destroying angel would not touch them, using that same word from Exodus 19, that barrier, so that they wouldn't touch the mountain, the author is telling us that the blood of the Passover was a barrier to death. He's connecting the barrier at Mount Sinai to the barrier of the blood. So the blood made it impossible for death to touch the firstborn, as all of the other unprotected firstborn were met with death. But there's more. We know from 1 Corinthians 5 that Jesus is the Passover lamb and that his blood saves us from death. His blood is the barrier around us, a barrier that judgment against sin cannot cross, cannot touch us, a barrier that not even death can cross and touch us, a barrier that not even the devil can cross. The author of the Hebrews used a word in verse 28 that is loaded with meaning. He says that Moses trusted God's promise about the lamb's sprinkled blood being a protective barrier for God's people on the night of the Passover. And because Jesus is the Passover Lamb of God who takes away the sin of the world, we can rest securely knowing that nothing can touch us. Not judgment, not death, not even the devil. Wow, there's a lot in that one word. Thanks for giving me a few minutes of your day. Greek to me, Pastor Bryan Hopfensperger. See you next time.